Brad Anderson is somebody who would know. He's here in a Fox Business exclusive. He's the former CEO and vice chair of Best Buy and current member of the Job Creators Network. I mean, a simple, tiny quarter-of-a-point rate hike would derail the jobs recovery?
That surprised me in terms of, no, I don't think it would have. But the fact that the Fed thought was worried enough that it didn't move, and especially put its sort of legacy at stake by doing it, indicates I'm worried that they're seeing something in the economy that it's pretty hard to see from a macro standpoint because there's so much strength in, housing getting a little bit better, retail getting a little bit better. There's sort of a slow, but I think it speaks to how much room there is for expansion that they don't think we're beginning to tick, and the U.S. the world is so dependent on the U.S. economic leadership that they want to do anything that destabilizes that. That's the only explanation.
I understand that pressure, but you as a businessman, when you ran Best Buy, how closely did you watch every Federal Reserve meeting? Sometimes we get so solipsistic and we think the world revolves around us and the Fed and how the markets move.
Not at all.
You didn't watch it at all?
No, well, because as a retail leader, you're sitting there, you get such a sense of the pulse every day with comp store sales, et cetera. You get so much information about what's going on in the macro economy that the Fed is kind of a later looking indicator. And sometimes the Fed would actually call in retailers for their point of view about what they were seeing. So I think from a retail standpoint, you really get, with detailed data, you get a pretty good insight in terms of what the consumer attitude is, and that drives so much of the macro economy.
And now you're with Job Creators.
Yeah.
How is the job market? Again, sometimes we don't get the real picture.
Well, I think, when the president says the U.S. is doing better than almost any place in the world, I think that's true. But relative to where it could be, or particularly relative to individuals having leverage, the thing I keep looking at on the boards I serve on, et cetera, is when does the point come where people are stuck and we're going to have to pay our employees more money because the market is such, and I'm not seeing that. Very little of that in some spaces, but in most cases, the employee doesn't have leverage to get them real discretionary income. And I think that's the line that the Fed probably is looking at.
What would happen to the jobs market if we see an October rate tightening? Can you anticipate that? Nothing?
I don't think. I think if you saw maybe a slight, on the margin, slight increase, because it isn't going to change anybody's decisions. You're not going to take money essentially out of the stock market for that kind of interest rate. So the same sort of accelerated growth policies was still sitting there with a quarter point. It's only an indicator of some confidence that that things are going to get stronger.
What's the one thing, the Fed, because it shouldn't be all on their shoulders, that this country should be doing to spur job growth more?
Oh, free up, especially small business, the environment for small business. A lot of the unintended consequences, like some of the banking regulation, made it very, very hard to get businesses started. I've seen this personally in terms of businesses I coach. It's harder to get businesses started. It's harder from a regulatory climate to grow a business. And that's where the engine of economic growth and transformations always come from in the United States. Free that up. And I think we should be looking at 4% GDP growth right now.
Free it up. Lose some of the regulation that needs to be lost, because not all regulation is bad.
Anything but all regulation. Look at the Volkswagen story.
Absolutely. Brad, it's great to have you.
Great
Thank you so much. A man who knows. He's been in the trenches. Brad Anderson, former Best Buy chairman and CEO. And when he was CEO, I was the idiot 3 days before the Super Bowl in 2004 who bought 3 Samsung TVs because I needed one in every room.
God bless you.
Thank you.